We are God.
Hey everyone, Mikey here, and welcome to another build video, where today I am doing a bit of a challenge build. My good friend JB recently put a poll on his Twitter to ask basically what T5 ship he should do for a build. So I decided to do a T5 as well, but I went a little different and I did a more control science build. So let's take a quick look at what I chose and how I built this ship. So I went with the Lurkari N'Kaam scout ship, which is available in the T5 boxes from the Infinity packs. Yes, it's not a budget ship per se, but you can pick these up on the exchange. They're not that expensive, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of boxes and who are usually willing to give them away for next to nothing or even for free. So if you're interested in like a ship like this or some of the others on the list, just put a message out to your fleet and see if anyone has extra boxes. I'm sure someone out there will be able to hook you up. So I've gone ahead and done a almost identical build to some of my other control builds. So standing still, you can see I'm way over capped at 629 control. It's a bit overkill, but hey, I like I love space magic and I love control builds especially. I just love watching ships come flying across my screen into my grav wells. So for the weapons, I've gone almost normal science. I've gone with the gravimetric, which is the must-have for science builds, the Delphic from the Lobby store, mainly for the debuffs, the dark matter, because this is one of the best torpedoes in the game. You get this from your discovery rep. Deflector, I've gone with the gamma reputation one because it gives a huge boost to EPG and control as well as drain. Also using the gamma impulse engine, again a little more control, and it's 2-piece, which isn't really that beneficial, but it gives everyone a little buff to turn and speed, which is always good because speed does equal DPS. For secondary deflector, I'm using the deteriorating secondary deflector from the Fleet Colony. It gives you a fair amount of control, a little bit of drain, boosts your torpedo damage a bit. These are, in my opinion, the go-to secondary deflectors in the game. There are other alternatives out there, but these are the ones I pick. That's just my opinion. The warp core, I went with the revolutionary warp core. Again, boosts my aux power, and of course it boosts my control. And shield, of course, using the Tilly's review pending shields. This is my go-to shield. It's on about 99% of my builds. For the mines, it's the Blackout, the Nakura. This was an old event reward. It's only available in MUDs now. I only recommend these if you're doing like a science build, because these do act as a hold. Their damage is mediocre at best, but they really suit a science build. The Nakura web mine launcher, this is from the Nakura reputation. Very good science mine. Again, it is another hold. And the Tetrion mine launcher, which is from a mission drop. Devices, of course, Kobayashi Maru, Exartic Particle Flood, and Deuterium Surplus. Consoles, the ever-important Lorcator. You can never pass off the crits and the shield pen. It's too good to pass up. I'm using Bioneural. Again, it's the best crit severity console, and it gives a good amount of control. If you're going to get anything from the Lobby store and you're specifically looking to increase your DPS, this is one of the top items to get. It is well worth the 200 Lobby at regular price, but I always tell people wait for a Lobby sale, because getting something on sales always makes it more worth it. Neutronic Eddies, this comes from the Rise in Summer event ship, which recently just got put in MUDs. So again, when that is on sale, I highly recommend you picking that ship up, because this console is amazing and the ship is actually very good. I did a build video on that ship a while back. Did a budget all events theme build on that, so please go check that out. Science consoles, I'm using a bunch of the focusers, which come from one of the fleet holdings. I have a mixture of EPG control and control drain ones, just to be a little different and to help proc the tachyon beam. Of course, it's a control build, so you gotta use Plasma Storm, which comes from the Maquis Raider, another Lobby ship that is in a MUDs pack. If you're going to be doing any kind of sciencey builds, space magic, or even control builds, that is a ship I highly recommend you get. Plus, it is considered to be one of the best raiders in the game. Genesis Seed from the legendary Miranda or the T6 Clark, another really good science console, acts as a control and has the potential to hit for 2 million. I've seen this crit for 2 million in the past. It can do a lot of damage, but it's a very good console for cleaning up large crowds and taking out the trash. I'm using the new console in the Lobby store from the recent Lower Decks updates, the Unstable Planetoid Detonation. The clicky on this is, let's just say, disappointing. It's a very cool effect, but it doesn't really do much damage. But you are using this console for the passives because it gives kinetic damage, which most EPG damage is kinetic based, as well as your torpedoes. It gives you some hull capacity, which is good for Tyler's duality, and it gives 50 control, which is insanely good. That's one of the reasons why my control is so high. I personally don't recommend everyone get this console. It is a very niche console. It's only really useful for your control builds, so it's not meant for everyone. I'm using the Tholian Web Spinner. Again, this is another meta science console. You've seen this on countless builds. It's an excellent console. Traits, it's pretty much all my other science builds. I'm not going to go over them. You know what these are for the most part. Starship Traits, I went a little bit different. Spore-infused anomalies, very good meta science trait. I've gone ahead and put carrier wave shield hacking. I love this trait. I cannot say enough good things about this. I think this is one of the best traits that's not bound to a ship that they've ever given us. Every time you activate a tractor beam or an intel ability, it knocks your enemy's shields offline for 5 seconds, and that is amazing. It gives such a huge boost to DPS. I cannot recommend this trait enough for people. Improved Photonic Officer. It's a science build. I didn't have anything else to slot, so I put Photonic Officer so I could use this trait. Extra EPG and a little extra cooldown ability. Improve Gravity Well to increase the duration and to decrease the cooldown and to give the damage resistance. This comes off of the Ectomi, before I forget, and this comes off of the Alliance pilot escorts, the Andorian, the Lethian, and the Day1. This comes off of the science version. Leisurely Pace, which came from last summer's Ryzian event ship. Basically, at low throttle or standing still, you get extra EPG and extra control. So yeah, this is actually, I enjoy this trait. I think it's an underrated trait. And from the T6 Equinox, Synthetic Good Fortune. Anytime you're using a control ability, you get more control expertise, and it can stack up to 40 times. So it is possible, in theory, to get well over 1,000 control. I know people who have done it, and again, this is another highly underrated trait. Plus, you get extra crit chance, and that's just ridiculous. Stations, as I said, I have gone with an all science build. Very similar to the other Lurkari ships out there, and very similar to my Vern. However, T5 ships do not benefit from having specialization seating, So this is a true all science build, so no temporal abilities. But you can tell from looking at it, there's a lot of Yukon procs on here. There's 6 Yukon procs, so that's very good to keep those consoles up a lot. So using jam targeting, DRB for a little bit of debuff, Photonic Officer for the boost and the cooldown, Power to Aux to proc a duty officer, Warp Bubble, which is a mission reward. Again, this is a Yukon proc. Cold in Space to have another anomaly to help Spore Infused. Hazard emitters for a heal and a cleanse. Tractor Beam because of using Carrier Wave shield hacking, and it has a very low cooldown. Tachyon Beam to help proc the secondary deflector and to drain the shields. Scramble Sensors, Photonic Shockwave, and of course the star of the show, the Gravity Well. So like I said, there's a lot of Yukon procs, and everything procs Spore Infused with the exception of the 2 engineering abilities. So yeah, Spore Infused goes off quite a bit. So for duty officers, it's close to pretty much standard what I usually use on science builds. However, because I don't have any specialization settings, I don't have any of the Borg duty officers, which in all honesty on this tune I really don't have a lot anyways, because I'm on my science tune, not on my main tack. So I'm using Law to recharge the time of torpedoes, the Technician to give bonus exotic when using emergency power to Aux, Gravity Well Aftershock Officer, Gravity Well Engines, Photonic Officer to reduce the recharge times of photonic abilities, so that's like your Photonic Shockwave and Photonic Officer. Plus his name is just cool, PDAD. And because this is a little squishy ship, this is a T5, using the Zindi Biochemist. Do not ask me to try to pronounce that, because I'm not going to even attempt. If you know how to pronounce that, big thumbs up for you. And basically every time you use an EPG ability, it reduces threat, so which is beneficial in this type of build with a T5 ship, because as we all know, science abilities generate a crap ton of threat, and being in a T5 ship, you can't absorb nearly as much damage. So that was the builds. I will say this is a very fun ship. It's actually a lot easier to fly than I was expecting. It's quick, it does a lot of damage, considering it is a T5, and it just goes to show you it's not necessarily the ship itself that is the primary focus, it's the actual build. Yes, you want to be looking at seating and console layout, but this T5 ship with this build actually kept up with some of my T6, and I think it just goes to show you that T5 ships are still relevant. So we'll go take a look at the ISE we did. Just to note that ISE that you're about to see, everyone was in a T5 ship. As I said, this started with JB putting out on Twitter what T5 ship he should do for a build, and then we all discussed it, and we decided to do an all T5 ISE run just to see what happened. And as you're going to see momentarily, the run went extremely well, and the parse was shockingly good. It was way beyond expectations. So without further ado, let's go to the ISE, and we'll see you afterwards for the parse explanation. Welcome to the parse explanation, and wow, that ISE was quite the run. It went by a lot smoother than I believe any of us thought it would, especially considering everyone was in a T5 ship. A couple of us were in T5Xs and a couple were in T5Us. So let's take a quick look. You'll see some very familiar names. Of course, leading the pack at 468, almost 470k DPS is Chorog at James Bryce, aka Nausicaan Pirate, aka JB. He has just put out a build video with this ship. It was the Herogen T5 Escort. I'll pop a link in the description, so please go check it out, because that build, as you can see, did amazing. Great job, JB. I was on my science tune Hannah, which does all my science builds, because in my opinion, and this is just me, I love doing science builds on my science tune as opposed to my tac tune. 277k DPS in a T5 control science ship. Beat my expectations, I will say that. We also had the actual mad scientist, Neojets, and he did 174, and he was in the Bulwark. We had our good friends and one of our tanking students, Lord Ice. He was in the T5 Galaxy Dreadnought. And he did fairly well tanking, even though Neojet was kind of tanking as well. So because we were in T5s, you can't have too much, you can't really overtank it, considering how fragile these ships really are. But Ice did manage to take a lot more of the threat than Neojet, which we all know Neojet. He is a mad scientist. We call him a mad scientist for a reason. And then we had our very dear friend Talon. She was in the Tier 5 Akira, and she did amazing. 154. So great job, Talon, and great job all around. So let's take a look at the player analysis. As expected on a science build, your pets are going to be number 1, and that is because of Genesis C, Neutronic Eddy, etc. Genesis C did 34k, max one hit of just under 900, so not the best showing, but not the worst. Neutronic Eddies almost beat Genesis C, 32k. Considering that this is a C-Store console, this is an event console, extremely good for science builds. I cannot recommend these enough. Badland Cyclone, that's from the Plasma controller, 7k, not bad. And this is what I mean by underwhelming. This is the unstable planetoid, only 3600. Yeah, it's not the best clicky, especially considering that this is a lobby console, so it is very expensive. But you're not going to be using it for the clicky. You're definitely going to be using it for the passives, because those passives are too good to pass up. Let's just hope that it doesn't get nerfed. Deteriorating secondary deflector. Again, science builds, you expect to see this near the top. 40k. Chain web projection. Another event console that has become exceptionally good and one of the top science consoles. Gravity Well, of course, Gravity Well is always going to be up there. Spore infused anomalies, because of all the triggers I have for it. That's why it is so far up. 11k, pretty damn good. Dark Matter Quantum, and this is just on its own. Same with the Gravimetric Rift and the Gravimetric Photon Torpedo. Remember, this was an all science build. I have 0 tactical abilities, so no torpedo spreads, no torpedo high yields. This is just them firing on their own. Just goes to show you how good the Dark Matter Torpedo actually is. This is completely unboosted. No firing modes, 9k. Gravimetric Torpedo, 8k. The Rift from the Gravimetric Torpedo, almost 9k. That's why these torpedoes are so good on a science build. Spore Infused just from the Gravity Well did 8k. The Delphic Distortion Torpedo, again, unbuffed, no firing modes, 6k, pretty good. The Tetron Mine, 6k, again, unboosted, no mine beta, no dispersal patterns. And considering that this is a free mine, it's from a mission, this is an excellent mine. It is definitely making its way to becoming a favorite and meta. DRB, you know, you're not using it really for the damage, you're using it for the debuff. The Web Mine Explosion, I believe this is one of the... Yeah, the Nakura Mine, this is when it goes off, 3k, but you're not using this for the damage, you're using it for its hold abilities. Same with the Blackout Mines, combined just under 6k combined. That's not bad, and again, it's because it's all unboosted. And then everything else is pretty much what you would expect. Like, yeah, Eutropic Rider, it's not going to do a whole lot because you don't have a lot proccing it. Tractor Beam, because of the carrier wave shield hacking, is going to be a little higher, but you know, 2k is 2k. But you're using Tractor Beam for two reasons now. One, because it's a Yukon proc, and two, more importantly, with carrier wave shield hacking, you are knocking the enemy shields offline. So there we have it. That was the ISE and the parse explanation. 277k in a T5 ship in a very competitive ISE run. Wow, is all I can say. That run went so smoothly, and when you look at that parse, you cannot tell we were all in T5 ships. So to answer the question, can T5 ships still keep up? Absolutely they can. Yes, you're not going to see any record breaking. I think it would be a struggle to get anything much higher than 500,000, but it is possible. And just to show you that T5 ships are definitely still relevant. They're a nice alternative for players on the mid to low end on budgets. A lot of the T5 ships are a lot easier to pick up. Yes, unfortunately, you can no longer get the Bulwark, which does suck because that is actually a good ship. I kind of wish I did use some of my tokens to pick that up before they took it away, but I sadly did not. So here's hoping that they somehow manage to bring that back, because that is an excellent T5 ship, especially for tanking. I hope everyone has enjoyed this video and enjoyed watching us prove that T5 ships are still relevant and actually worth it to pick up. Please do all those normal YouTube things, you know, comment, like, subscribe, turn on the bell for notifications. I hate saying it every video just as much as you guys hate hearing it, but it is the truth that it does help that algorithm, and it does help the channel grow. So I really appreciate if you guys all do that. I've also returned to streaming. I will be streaming at least twice a week going forward. So please check out my Twitch channel, drop a follow, and I'd love to see you come hang out when I'm going live. My schedule will be updated going forward. So please go and check that out. And until the next video, I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
We are God.